Welcome, followers of Diverse Marketing, Kid at Heart, all of our social channels. I am super excited for this episode of the Triple H, the Happy Half Hour, because I get to introduce you to a segment of the toy and gift and trend industry that not a lot of people know about. There is a designation in our world called the professional inventor. And the professional inventor works with our next guest at the highest levels. I'd like to welcome Rich Mazel from Hasbro to the Triple H. Say hello.
Hey, Steve. Thanks for having me. Great to see you again.
Nice hat, Rich. LA represent.
Yeah, I was gonna say I saw one of your episodes, I think with Nancy Weirs, and you had a Dodger hat on, so I decided to throw it on at the last minute. I can actually see a Dodger stadium out my window, so when they turn the lights on, I can see the stadium.
That's great, man. I know you're a big Dodger fan, but you just moved to LA, right? You were working for Hasbro. Well, let's back up for a second. Rich, you might have the very best job in the toy business. And that's coming from somebody that has heard that about themselves quite often. Can you tell the people what you do and who you do it for?
Yeah, I've heard that before. And what's interesting is I used to work for Deloitte & Touche in the consulting world. And I did a lot of real estate investment trust work and stuff. And when you meet somebody on a plane, their eyes usually glossed over for the most part. And now, basically, I tell people I fly around the world and I see games, toys, and technology. And they're like, whoa, that's a job? And immediately they ask, is that like Tom Hanks from the movie Big, is the second question. And as much as I try to tell people, or in the past I try to tell people, well, there's a lot more to it than that. They want to keep that that dream alive or whatever. So I just go with that. It's like, yeah, I play with toys every day, and then so a lot of that is true.
Dude, you know, I wish our job wasn't like our jobs are definitely harder than the movie Big. But the movie Big, like at the core, is what we do. We have to understand how a kid plays the item simultaneously to how a mom or a grandparent buys it.
Yeah, and I agree. And there's times where I have that moment of recognition that I'm no longer working in real estate investment trust with Deloitte & Touche. Is that like you're playing with a doll in Japan and this is your job or whatever, and you see a new toy or technology or whatever. And I always tell people it's not that we have to play with toys at these pitches or whatever. It's like we get to play with these toys. So you know, I see about 4,000 new toys, games, and technologies a year. And actually, that's official submissions and pitches. I see a lot more through blogs like yours. Love your diverse insights, like after any of the toy fairs. I feel like if I missed anything, you always pick it up. Or if I'm not able to go, I always read that as well, too. So little plug for you there.
Thanks, brother. Well, speaking of plugs, most people know who Hasbro is. But if you were to tell somebody, give us the elevator pitch, if possible, on what Hasbro has done and how they interact with the inventor community.
Yeah, so Hasbro's been around for over 100 years. They actually started off, they were pencil case manufacturers out on the East Coast, out of Pawtucket, Rhode Island. And out of that, they started producing some games. Early hits were things like Mr. Potato Head was the first televised toy. And they built on from there. And there was a bunch of acquisitions of Milton Bradley and Tiger Electronics and some of these other things. So we've grown and we've gotten a lot of brands. And then also from my group, the Inventor Group, a lot of brands have spawned out of that. So the Nerf ball, it was invented by Ren Geyer. It was actually a game. It was a game of boulders, as I was told, and the person told, I don't like the game, but I love the idea of a foam ball that you can throw inside the house, right? The old rule was, mom won't let you play ball in the house, just like the Brady Bunch episode, right? You know, that when they broke the lamp and stuff, and Nerf broke that rule and empowered kids to go ahead and play. So out of that, we're the largest, one of the largest toy companies, but we are the largest in games. So going back to the old hits of Monopoly and Perfection and Operation, up to the new hits from a couple of years ago. PieFace was one of our biggest ones that came in through our group as well. And then on the toy side, Transformers, My Little Pony are all ours, Beyblades, Nerf, obviously, and then Baby Alive. And then we just acquired E1. So we brought on a bunch of new brands in the play school space, like Peppa Pig and Ricky Zoom and all of those as
Ricky
well, too.
Zoom.
So we've got lots and lots of brands, and some people actually know us more for our brands than just the name Hasbro. You know, you throw out some of those, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I love Nerf blasters,"
Sure.
or that. So yeah, so we're across the board. We've got our hands in a lot of different things.
That's awesome, man. I want to come back to the inventor, the career inventor, because similar to you, I see a lot of toys, and I hate to say it this way. Unfortunately, I'm a little bit jaded. Innovation is hard to come by. So, in an effort to create innovation and encourage people to enter our wonderful little industry, can you help quantify what it could be, what it could mean financially, what it could mean from how many units you sell a year? If somebody has a toy idea, what can they do with it, and how successful can it be?
Yeah, and I think there's a wide range there. And I'm also very careful as far as the level of encouragement because I also want to be realistic. It can be wonderful if Mike Bowling is the inventor of Pound Puppies. You come up with something like that that sells over a long period of time. You can do quite well. Inventors of some of the toys that are out, recently Hatchimals was a big inventor item. So those type of inventors, could make millions of dollars a year. But the challenge, and what I try to always tell new people too, remember, I've got some super talented inventors that slept on a buddy's couch for 2 years and ate Kraft macaroni and cheese. And you could come right out of the box with a success, but due to the development time frame, you may not get paid for 2 years. So make sure, a lot of times I say don't quit your day job and stuff like that. And also there is a portion of sort of luck and timing. One of our biggest games, Bop It, was rejected 9 times, right? So 9 times
Wow.
it didn't fit, but you get it to the right meeting at the right time with the right person, and it goes forward. And a big thing I try to stress to inventors is you're not an idiot when the product doesn't go to shelf, and you're not necessarily a genius when it does go to shelf, although we try to remember things that way. And I've also found it very interesting that invention and acting are the only two professions that people immediately ask you to prove what you've done. So if you're a heart surgeon, no one says, "Oh, who have you operated on?" Or tell me, did you ever done an aorta before? They say, "What have you done?" And in most cases, you can be super successful in the top 90th percentile, and the person may not know your toy. There's very few of the Rubik's Cubes and the Nerf and the Twisters and things like that that people know.
Hmm.
And that's what they do with actors, and it's not always fair too. I used to play baseball here in LA with a bunch of actors, and the guy, one of our first basemen, went to Juilliard and Stanford, and he was done Shakespeare in the Park and stuff. But then when someone's talking to him, you get a little bit more pop out of saying, "Geez, I was in that Taco Bell commercial with the skateboarding dog," and they're
Of
like,
course.
"Whoa, that's amazing." So anyway, so I try to be optimistic, but you can do quite well. You can also have big periods of time where you're making $0. So the important part is when you do have a success, bank that money away to support your future development.
Amazing. Is there an inventor community out there? Is there a trade show that you advocate towards? Is there something, a place for resources for people that are thinking about it?
Yeah, when I first, I'm trying to think. So a couple of the good ones for first-time inventors in the US, ShyTag is very good, and typically in November, although we may be doing it virtually this year. But that's quite a great group, and we support it, as do the other toy companies. Mojo Nation is becoming a kind of a go-to event in the UK, and that's also in the fall. and very good for new inventors to get in front of people like me. And it's, also actually Women in Toys in the Dallas Empowerment Day is
Yeah.
terrific. They really run, and I tell them this every year, they run probably the best program as far as us seeing many people. They just have it coordinated and down well because, we're seeing so many people. It's difficult if you're, taking time to set up stuff and tear down stuff or whatever. We get to see more people through that. So I would say those. Great book by Richard Levy and Ron Weingardner called The Toy and Game Inventors Handbook. It is the Bible of the toy inventor community. And I tell people there's so many books and resources out there that they don't quite hit the mark of the way the day-to-day actually happens. That one is spot on.
That's awesome.
And I got it before. David Fuhr got it for me. He's the inventor of the Vortex football from Nerf. And I highlighted every name. I still have the copy. I underlined stuff, made notes just in case I'd ever meet these people, and how to negotiate a deal, how to pitch. And all of them came true. And now everybody in this book is now my friend, which is awesome. And it's come full circle. So definitely get that book.
That's awesome, man. Well, as you know, the happy
Oh,
half hour. Yeah.
it's available for free on Amazon Prime if you have Kindle as well too. So just a little tip there.
Shout out free stuff.
Yeah, there
And
you go.
shout out the Fuhr family. Alex Fuhr, the next generation of the inventor community. I'm a big fan of theirs overall. So
And I owe them a lot for getting me into the industry.
that's cool to hear. Okay, so I want to come back to your point about proving your success as an inventor. You are like a master inventor. What are some of the latest toys? You mentioned PieFace. Are there any other ones that were successful, whether it's in the last couple of years or in your career overall? Like, what are the top 4 or 5 items that you remember, that you put on your belt?
Yeah, and there's those moments because we do see a lot. So now I'm at a point in my career that I've seen probably already 40,000 concepts. And you're right, there's a lot of times where you're like, I know what this is going to do. But then, whoa, like it's a Tuesday at 4 o'clock in Tokyo, where I met you, and something walks in that you've never seen before. And it's a little bit like a magic trick, So you see a car and you're like, okay, this could transform, this could drive around, and it does something you never expected. And like a kid, very much so, it's just about getting excited to like immediately take a picture or photo of it or video and send it back to the people at Hasbro. I've been lucky enough I came in, probably was hired at Spin Master because of Bakugan, one of the larger inventor successes. The first time around, it sold about $1 billion, and kind of took Spin Master from sort of, yeah, with a B, from a mid-sized company to a fairly large-sized company. Zoomer was fun back at Spin Master when that came in. I remember we all looked at it and we said, that's Toy of the Year. And it was Toy of the Year across the board. And fun project working with the inventors developing that. At Hasbro, quite proud, obviously, PieFace, best-selling game of all time. And I'll tell you a little behind the scenes.
Wait. Can you give us that insight again? PieFace is the best-selling game of all time?
Over a 12-month period, yes. So it beat out a version of Monopoly, believe it or not. So obviously Monopoly sold for a long period of time, but for 12 months, PieFace, we were selling one every 6 seconds, I believe. We had 64 billion views on YouTube and social media. And it was just so powerful because not only were we giving people a game, we were giving people a prop to make their own videos. And we found, I think the amount was 65% of people that bought PieFace shared socially a video of them playing it. Because certain things like Monopoly, you're not going to put that up on Facebook usually or whatever. But this, you're somebody getting hit in the face, a dog got hit in the face once with that or whatever, somebody's dentures fell out or whatever. And so they were creating the viral videos. We had the first viral video that we licensed, but everybody else was creating content for us. So that was a lot of fun.
Who was the first one, Rich? You said you licensed the first viral video.
Yeah, so here's the little inside scoop here. This is funny. So we had seen several times PieFace pitched to us, and we typically rejected it because too messy, mom won't like it, that kind of stuff. Or you got to buy your own whipped cream, and there was a lot of barriers. There was but a guy who started making them in Europe, I think out of the UK, and he tooled up the game himself, and he got the trademark. And there was this video of this grandfather and grandson playing it out of Ireland, and just hysterical laughter that was coming to it, and it became like a Chewbacca mom moment. Like
Yeah.
everybody was watching this thing, so we got the word to go get it, and we licensed it in 2 days. And a little funny twist is one of the execs sent us an email a couple days later that said, Rich and Dougal, have you seen this, question mark? And it was a link to YouTube, and so we clicked it. 1963, new from Hasbro, PieFace. And
Huh.
you can go on YouTube. It was our game from 1963. A guy remembered it when he was a kid and had it tooled up. He goes, we didn't have, we had long since got rid of the trademarks or whatever. It didn't really matter at this point because he's the one who brought it back into
Right.
relevance, got the video, viral video thing going or whatever. So that was all cool, but it was just a funny moment that what's old is new again. And to see that video, you can go check it out on YouTube, but no, that was quite a
Incredible.
surprise to us.
Wow. I mean, that's a trend full circle. I love it. I love it. Well,
Absolutely.
I do want to talk to you about this user generated content that it's a hot, obviously everybody's talking about it. And the last time when I spoke at Hasbro, it was one of the challenges that you gave to the inventor community. Your invention needs to be Instagrammable. Can you talk about how social media has changed the way marketeers bring toys to market, how inventors need to think about social media? I mean, this was an incredible example with PieFace, but I'd love for you to elaborate on it.
Yeah, and I think the evolution that we're seeing is before things were kind of, pitched to look good on shelf and look good on TV in a lot of cases. And TV's become less effective for us, right? Everybody's skipping past commercials. But we have partnerships like Nerf with Dude Perfect and things like that that have these built-in communities that fit with our brands. So a couple things, a couple pieces of advice for inventors. I would say, like, yeah, what would look, a lot of the games are becoming, they're not really hardcore games. We did a game called Chow Crown from an inventor, Steve Fink, out of Cincinnati, Bang Zoom, and it was a hat that just rotated around with snacks on it, and it's like, that's more of like I tell people, if you're at a party and somebody else was doing this in another room, would you look in there and would you start to walk in there to see what the heck is going on? So it's kind of like these experiences and stuff, and permission to have fun too in a lot of cases. I think as we get older, we kind of forget to have fun as much as we did when we were kids. These props break down those barriers though, right? So you put the hat on, okay, everybody's silly and having fun. I do believe the next generation of things, and we're starting to see this too, is much like like pitching a TV show or a movie, is packaging the concept together. That if you can bring in an idea with the appropriate digital influencer or whatever, now it's starting to come together. You don't need that, but if you had all of these positions in place or whatever, that you say, before we'd look at a game, we'd say, oh, that's a pretty cool game. But then you get the inventor of Exploding Kittens comes in and shows you a game. You're like, it's a pretty good game. And he's got 50 million followers. Okay, now this is a different, it shifts the equation where the game had to speak for itself before, but now he's got an audience, right? So that's been the change that I've seen.
That's awesome, man. Fall 2020 is going to be interesting. There's a lot of factors that are affecting what retail will look like, what e-tail will look like. What is your general outlook for the remainder of the year for the toy industry, and what maybe we should be thinking about for 21 and even 22?
Yeah, I'm quite optimistic. Obviously, I think, a lot of these companies, a lot of consumer product companies will be missing out on, 2 quarters of revenue, just because of lack of being able to get the product. Our games are up, I think 40% or something like that. No surprise. People are staying at home. Things like Play-Doh are doing well. And I think we'll get back to it's going to be a new normal, but I think we'll all have the same market share, right? And we'll still have our classic games. I have seen a trend, just sort of a micro trend in my neighborhood, and confirmed it with other people. We seem to be we're going back to basics. So what I see out in front of my house is we started making games on our sidewalk, hopscotch and tic-tac-toe and activities and mazes and stuff on the sidewalk. And because everybody's was under quarantine, and so other kids would do it down the street. So you'd go around the neighborhood and there'd be like 5 6 houses that you could play the games out in front of their house. More kids getting away from that overscheduled thing. The
Yeah.
you show up in the Chevy Suburban. One kid's got a lacrosse outfit on, and he's got to change into his baseball uniform, and got to get the sister over to swim class and stuff. And my sons were catching geckos here the other day or whatever, and just exploring around. Like, I used to catch frogs and worms and stuff like that. So I would say there'd probably be a return back to the basics of fun. I think that'll stick around after we're all kind of released.
Yeah, I saw an interesting headline. Maybe it was from the Toy Association or MPD, but it basically said parents are understanding deeper the value of play. Like, they're seeing its value, and over these last 90 days or so, how they're just how it's affecting their kids.
And I'd like to see that extend to the parents too. I'm the guy that always had fun. I had when I was living on the East Coast, I had a baseball field in my backyard, basketball court that I built, all kinds of stuff going on or whatever. And then I would bring out these games and virtual reality and all of this kind of stuff. And the adults, once they see it, they're like, this is amazing. And they're like, they thought games were for the kids or whatever. And they get back into it and they love it once they're exposed to it. So I'd love to see more parents taking that on as well too, adventuring and play. And I think they are. We're having a lot more board game nights here. We're doing a lot more cooking and shopping together. So that's been a positive side of this.
I agree, man. Well, before we end it with a segment that we like to call the creation of positive energy. Before that moment, I would like to give you the opportunity to tease something that's coming out for fall 2020 from Hasbro. I know we can't reveal any company secrets, but is there any item or new brand that you're excited about that retailers either should be looking at or consumers should be following, a pre-teaser campaign, anything like that? What do you got to
Yeah,
tease for us, Rich?
I'm super excited what we're doing with Play-Doh right now. So Play-Doh has been kind of the industry standard of tactile play, and it's a pretty basic thing. It was just a little fun fact is that it was a wall cleaner before, basically. And
Really?
and so that's how it came. It was like this compound, and someone sort of turned it into sort of this building toy. I love that it's open-ended, but I love that what we're doing is taking it to the next level. So what we're starting to do, you'll see there was always all these like slimes and gacks and putties out in the market, but Play-Doh has always stood for the highest quality, a brand you trust and stuff. And a lot of these were coming from sort of nondescript Chinese manufacturers with varying levels of safety and things like that. So we're going deep into that. So Play-Doh is not just going to mean the old-fashioned Play-Doh; it's going to mean all these new compounds. And then what I'm very busy looking for is what is the toy that goes around it. So we have a lot of you can buy the slimes and gacks and stuff, but what's the cool robot that
Right.
uses slime or something in the toy and taking it to the next level? So I think you'll start to see a lot of those things. And that's just the base of fun. I was in Hong Kong, and that was one of the days where it was full on big, like I was just putting my hand all the way down into these giant vats of all the different goops and
Yeah.
putties and ones with sparkles. I'm like, you know what? Today's the day. This is what people think I do every day, and I'm doing it today or whatever.
Dive
Just
full in.
playing with goop. Yeah, there was big enough ones that you could jump into it. I didn't because I had a suit on.
One day, Rich, you and I
What
will jump
exactly?
into a giant
Yeah,
vat
actually.
of goop.
Well, let's do that. Once we get back to traveling, we'll do that somewhere.
I like it, man. Look, I really believe that we will get back and the world will open up and we'll fix a lot of the problems we have together. But if we were, what do you miss most about traveling? What do you miss most, about the way things were?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I've been very optimistic because it's like, we go and you travel, you see, you're one of those guys that probably sees more shows than I do, but a lot of it we were on autopilot a little bit, right? So we
Mhm.
start off Hong Kong, go to London, go to Germany, go to New York. Then I'll speak at South by Southwest and all this stuff, and it
Sick.
was just this constant churn. This break has allowed me to say, okay, what are we going to add back into it, right? Do we need all of these things, but I do miss just seeing all my friends around the globe, the inventor community and the toy community, very close knit.
Yeah.
And nothing better than, like, the first time I went to Hong Kong, I remember, wow, I got 100 friends here too, and we're just all like texting and
Yeah.
stuff. Meeting you in Japan was great with Rinsler and at a ninja restaurant, by the
That
way.
was a
So
great
that was a lot
evening.
of fun.
Great
Yeah, that
evening.
was a good time. So yeah, I guess I missed that, my family, because I've always thought of inventors is like, I grew up in the Midwest, and I was kind of thinking differently than the Midwest. The Midwest was very much be a doctor, be a lawyer, whatever. And being on the West Coast, I find this creative community. But when you're there, like in Hong Kong with 100 crazy creatives, actually, quick story out of Germany, we were at Essen, and we were with probably 25 game inventors, and we tried to decide whether we could drink a drink that was on the second floor of the bar, outside of the bar, in the middle of the street, so connecting straws and stuff. And I think you say that to most people and they'd be like, this guy's crazy. These guys were like, no, we can do this, and we got this over here and put that through this or whatever. And to rush to the end, you can drink a drink outside the street from 2 stories up above. So, but it's kind of it's your tribe, so I do miss that part.
Yeah. Innovation and alcoholism. It's the perfect segue. Rich, you did it. You represented the inventor community so great. It is your time to finish the show for the last 15 seconds or so. We call it the creation of positive energy, where it is your opportunity to shout out anybody that's doing a great job, anybody that maybe needs a little bit of a pep talk, just somebody that you admire, respect. The floor is yours. Go Hasbro, go inventors. Rich?
So, by the way, I was a little early here, but I did want to plug from my travels of Sipsmith Gin, where at the neighborhood I stay in London. This is amazing. So if we were to have done this a little bit later, I would have made myself a gin and tonic, but it is absolutely
Mhm.
wonderful. So that's a little pitch for
Love
Sipsmith.
it. Love it. Love
Um,
it.
the guy I'm really impressed with right now is Mark Robers, and he is terrific. He's a digital influencer. He's kind of a superhero for geeks. And I say that in a nice way because I consider myself a geek. He used to work for NASA. Now he works for Apple, but he's just doing all these wonderful, crazy experiments online. He made the world's largest Nerf blaster, the world's largest super soaker. he's
Amazing.
gotten a lot he's gotten a lot of publicity. Last year he did the glitter bomb, so somebody stole the package off of his thing and then exploded in glitter and stuff.
Yeah.
And
Betty.
so yeah, so really cool work. He's pretty hot now. He's on Kimmel, or was on Kimmel a lot, and I think he's got his own pilot coming out, but he's a lot of fun to watch.
Amazing. Rich, thank you so much for joining us on the Happy Half Hour. Cheers to you. Cheers to everyone at Hasbro. We'll be back to traveling soon. Thank you very much. See ya.
All right, see you. Yeah, see you, buddy. Take care.